The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you've led the cat up to the top of the building and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like overcapitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well organized and well funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. It's Thursday, so I'm joined by my brother from another mother of another color, Alpha Warrior. How you doing, buddy?
Good, brother.
Oh yeah, just good, or are you doing great?
I'm doing great.
Okay, that's good to hear. I like to hear that. I got the sound worked out now. So like when I do the intro, because with the new intro, I've been having all these issues, and I tested out this morning and I figured it out. So we're good to go.
Are you hearing that?
Damn it, we're not good to go. Okay, now we're good to go.
Test one. Yes.
Yeah, now we're good to go. I had to fix it because I was playing. We played music on a recording that we did last night, and you got to turn the echo cancellation off to play music. So there we go. Had to get that fixed. Echo. The chat's echo. Thanks, guys. Got it. Figured out. All right, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Smash that thumbs up if you have not done so already. Helps us out with the rankings and everything else. And let's go ahead and get into our sponsors before we jump into the show. And first up, we've got our friends over at Rise Attire.
What up, Badlanders? Are you ready to rock something new in 2026? Well, as always, we got you covered with the Rise Badlands Native Collection. Built from the rich tones and rugged terrain of the Dakotas, equal parts beautiful and brutal. Old roots, new vibe. Whether you got gators in your backyard or you have to take a bush plane to the post office, Badlanders are worldwide. Different dirt, same tribe. Speaking of different dirt, the ghost of base Patrick Henry designed a plan for the border wall that he actually sent to the White House. It's friggin' hilarious. Now you can get it on a shirt, hoodie, and more. And don't forget, every order throws fuel on the fire of the Made in USA parallel economy. So grab something now at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
I keep procrastinating on buying the shirt that Ghost made, but I need it so bad. I need it so bad. I also need I'm microdosing on hopium shirt because I am big time microdosing on hopium right now after all the news that we've gotten so far this week. What's your general litmus on this week and everything that's going on?
You need to start watching the Alpha Warrior show, bro. You'd been happy the whole damn time.
I know you have been, but
that's all I'm saying, bro.
Are you fully on the rug?
Fully on the rug, man. I'm the one laying out the rugs for him, bro.
You're rolling out the red carpet, huh?
Listen, I've never once, not once, Brian, doubted what was going to happen. And maybe it's because, you know, what I was tested through in those 4 years. You know what I mean? Because if you would have asked anybody to gauge my scenario with the government that was in place and everything was going to, everybody would have said, just like my best friends told me, my family told me, take the deal. No, I had faith in him and I had faith in the boss, and he hasn't let us down. And I called it from last year. You're seeing all the patterns for RICO. Like everybody flipping out. They called back the subpoenas in Florida. Oh? You think that means people are going to walk? No. It means, from my experience, one of two very plausible things. One, they don't need them, and they already got the information that they need. Could be one. And second, they want to go through and they want to dot every I and cross every T to make sure everything that was obtained in those statements was done so correctly. So if it wasn't, they can say, hey, you know what, we will withdraw this case and then submit a new one. Because there was a word that John Solomon used, I think, was it last week, the week before, sometime in the last 2 weeks. And he goes, you know, what we're seeing, the way they're doing this stuff down in Florida, it almost looks like they're setting up a predicate. And he kept going, and the woman that was interviewing then, you know, capitalized on what he said there. But he was throwing predicate. Predicate is something that you would need, and what we've always been saying, a RICO case. So what's going on in Florida is not, it's an individual case, but it's an individual case that when it leads to its conclusion is going to be used as a predicate in a RICO case. That's what he was saying. And I agree with him.
Do you think we heard on Sunday, Cash Patel was on with Maria Bartiromo, and for the first, I think maybe the first time in the election scope, specifically the 2020 election, he alluded to a conspiracy case. And, you know, again, it was kind of difficult because I'm not sure if he perhaps was like mixing the two up, because he started that conversation talking about 2016 Russiagate, the Russia collusion hoax, and all of that stuff. Bartiromo interjects and says, no, I'm talking about the 2020 election specifically. Patel alludes to the RICO case, the conspiracy. And we've always said, I've said since before Trump was even in office, that it's a conspiracy. In fact, the title of one of my articles on the Gateway Pundit back in like 2023 was, they're investigating the wrong RICO. It's not all of the people that they indicted in Georgia for RICO. They're the ones that, you know, perpetrated the RICO. And that was, you know, my opinion on that back then. So when Patel says that, and do you think he said that because we have the grand jury assembled in Florida? Because again, you and I have talked about other RICO cases outside of just the scope of what's being brought in Florida, what's being alluded to in Florida. You know, it goes all the way into Georgia. It goes into other swing states from the 2020 election. It goes into all the prosecutions of Trump up in New York, up in DC, J6. Like, there's so much that is encompassed in this. Do you think that he's not they're not alluding to those ones, or do you think they're all going to sprout from the Florida one?
Well, they're not all going to sprout from the Florida one. The Florida one's going to be the one that's going to be one of the well-known predicates. And you know this from all the elections you've been covering, when people say there's no arrest. There's been arrests coast to coast regarding election fraud. The issue is you have to show how those arrests and that fraud in that county and state connects to the next county and state and connects to the next county and state. You got to show that these are all, now they don't each have to connect to each other, but once you show that enough of these connect to a certain group that facilitated this, then all of a sudden these things matter. Because it's what we are seeing unfold, brother, is the biggest, most sophisticated RICO case in the history of this country, and probably forever. And it's not just going to be elections. It's gonna be a host of things that we've all witnessed. And that's why when everybody was screaming, over the last 16 months now, where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? Like, pay attention. They're setting up all the predicates for a criminal enterprise. Those are going to be some of the last ones that you see. And it's all, and this from just your knowledge of elections, narratives matter. And you're seeing a choke point of all these narratives coming into one. And how do we know they're doing it? Because they tried doing it to us. We had, this, because I know we're on YouTube. You had the election stuff. I'll just leave a single word there. You had all these things going on at once, the impeachments, all that. They're trying to overwhelm the administration. And now what you see is they're doing the same thing right back to the deep state. I'm pumped, bro.
Yep, me too. I'm still microdosing, but you gave me you up my dose today, so I might have some side effects like tomorrow when I have Chris Paul on. I'll have my side effects. I'll have my hangover tomorrow, but I'll stay pumped today. Let's stay pumped. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the news. First story out the gate right here from the Hill. David Scott, longtime Georgia Democrat, dies in office at 80. A Democrat representative, 80 years old. And first elected in 2002, so been there for 24 years. And just playing around this morning, I asked the machine, between 2021 and 2025, well, actually, I asked currently, it doesn't go up to current, how many sitting members of Congress have died in office? And it's been 14, man. And you've got some that were killed in tragic accidents and, unfortunate circumstances, but a lot of these people dying of, natural, quote unquote, natural. I don't think they're actually natural, but, natural in the regard that they're poisoning us. But cancer, health decline, cancer, pancreatic cancer, medical complications. It's almost like we need term limits or an age cap. You have to be a minimum age to get into Congress.
So I was thinking that too. There's a minimum age. Why not put a maximum?
Why not a max?
But then again, you look at someone like Trump, who's brilliant. So I think the more appropriate thing is term limits.
Oh yeah, I'm with you 100% on term limits. 100%. And I don't know. Again, this is one of the most kind of controversial things because I think broadly, most Americans agree on term limits. Overwhelming majority agree. But the question then becomes, what do you set those term limits at? Because I said this at Guard. I think 4 years and 8 years for a president is ridiculous. I think we're one of the
ridiculous only, as in too long or too short.
Too short. I think it's too short. I do. I think it's too short. Again, this is assuming we have free and fair elections because in a presidential election, especially, the incumbent is most likely to succeed. Joe Biden was the first quote unquote president not to do successive terms since Jimmy Carter. Right. Nobody else. I think Bush didn't have back-to-back terms, did he? The first Bush, he didn't have back-to-back terms. He lost, but he got ripped off by Ross Perot.
That was the ears dude. I remember
ears guy, the Texas guy that jumped in as an independent and the billionaire. So
he was ahead of his time.
But either way, and maybe 8 years is enough, but they have to be 8 consecutive years. And this is the point that I made at Guard, is that having that break in the middle where it's your opposition party that's undoing everything that you just did, and now you have to spend another 4 years kind of setting everything up and putting everything back in place the way that you had wanted it or left it. This is taking devolution out of the picture here, just assuming in a straightforward world here. To me, that's not right. And the only other president that ever had split terms was Grover Cleveland in 1896 or something like that. Interesting case there as well. Very similar to Trump's in that he got more votes in his second election than his first and still lost. The only two presidents ever to quote unquote do that. But anyways, so where would you draw the term limits, and then we'll move on?
For a president, the scary part is you put 3 terms and you get a bad dude in there. Like a lot can happen in 12 years.
Well, that's why I prefaced it with free and fair elections, with like actual accurate elections.
No, but even with free, it's like, you could get someone in there that's a doozy, But granted, the system, if it was operating the way it was intended, that's what you would have impeachments and things like that for. To me, a safe bet would be, instead of making a 3rd term, let's just change the term to 5 years, because then that's a decade. That's a decade. You're talking, an eighth of someone's lifespan if you get to live into your 80s. And it's one of those things where, 5 years gives you a very solid idea of what this person's going to do. And if you want another 5 years of that, and then all of a sudden 10 years ain't so bad. But if it's 5 years under this dude is bad, then we know, well, we don't want another term with this guy. I think it helps elude commitment to the 3rd term. It provides enough time to see if someone's good or bad and to cook. Because in 5 years, the first year is just trying to get your people into position, right? So in a 4-year presidency, that first year almost seems, administrative trumps the exception of what he just did in his first year. But typically that doesn't happen, So, but then again, we don't even know what government's going to look like, here in once everything gets cleaned up. Maybe 4 years is enough. And you're not wasting a year trying to get people into office when you actually have legitimate people in Congress.
The other issue then, if you do 5 years, becomes the midterm election. When do you do the midterm election? And also, that in and of itself, the midterm elections now with congressmen being able to, fly back to their jurisdictions like in a couple hours, as opposed to, during our founders' time when it took weeks and months to travel back. When you're on horseback and you're going back to, when you're going from DC to Georgia, that's like a week or 2 week long voyage trip. So that's kind of changed as well. And it seems like now, it is now, like you get elected to a House seat and you're immediately campaigning again for your next term, right? For your next run. Primaries are a year before the general election, typically 6 to 8 months before the election. And so you're already starting to, if you have a challenger, run against them and campaign against them. And the whole thing just becomes an absolute shit show. And our system is fundamentally broken right now. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into actually, before we do that, I want to highlight this. Chad Pergram put this out on X, said, with the passing of David Scott, we now have 430 members, 217 Republican, 212 Democrat, 1 independent. Kevin Kiley being the independent that caucuses with Republicans. We have 5 vacancies. We have Doug LaMalfa from California, David Scott from Georgia, Swalwell's seat in California, Gonzalez's seat in Texas, and McCormick's seat, my district down here in Florida. So, yeah. Oop. Oh, wow. I did that just by the click of a button. That's epic. How do I do that again? Go ahead.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I hit a button and it made the screen.
Pull it off the screen. Spacebar. Spacebar undoes your last action. So watch, bring it up on the screen like the normal.
Oh. Yeah. Cool.
I learned that the hard way. I played a video one time, and this microphone's right over one hand, so my other hand operates real low. And I hit the space bar, and I was like, panic.
All right, let's jump into this story here from the Washington Free Beacon. Fall from grapes.
Shout out Illinois Danny. You'll like this. All shows are why we vote now.
Asawavana. That's what we've been saying. Asawavana. The Ash coined that term. All shows are why we vote. Winery owned by Ilhan Omar's husband folds 1 year after Omar said it was worth up to $5 million. The winery, I'm assuming that's E Street Crew. Can you read that? ESTCRU. Let me zoom in. Can you read that right there? I'm assuming it's E Street Crew, which is a really kind of a shitty name for a wine company. It sounds like a rap label or something.
It does sound like it. Sounds like some hood name, man.
Right? And their wines were like Blockchain and Clothesline were the brands of their wines. It sounds like they made this on AI, and they're like, hey, put together an AI company for me to launder money through. And And that's
they're trying to save all their money on their way out right now.
Oh, yeah. The winery East Street crew filed for termination with the California Secretary of State on April 4th. The form was signed by Omar's husband, Tim Minette's business partner, former DNC advisor Will Haler. Nearly 1 year ago, in May of 2025, Omar filed an annual financial disclosure that said the winery was worth between $1 and $5 million at the end of 2024. That marked an increase of at least 1,900% and as much as 32,233% from the previous year, when Omar said the winery was worth between $15,000 and $50,000. By the way, I think I said this when we were covering this a couple months ago. If you had a business and you value it the first year at $15,000 to $50,000 and the next year you're at $1 to $5 million, you might be getting some knocks on your door and some requests to provide information. That is a substantial increase for a new business. In a revised financial statement filed on March 26, 9 days before East Street crew filed for termination, Omar disclosed that the winery and venture capital firm Rose Lake Capital had no value at all, though she also said they generated up to $5,000 and $1 million in respective income in 2024. She blamed the massive discrepancy on, quote unquote, an accounting error, human error, technical glitch, nothing to see here, right? Quote, the amendment disclosure confirms what we've said all along. The Congresswoman is not a millionaire, said Omar spokeswoman Jacqueline Rogers to the Wall Street Journal. Aides said that Omar looked at the form before it was filed in 2025, but that the error didn't jump off the page for her because she isn't involved with her husband's businesses, and she trusted the accuracy of the accountant who provided her husband's figures. So reel in that accountant for fraudulently submitting disclosures to the federal government. Reel them in, bring them in, get them questioned, get them on the books.
Dunhee 3 put Shark Tank would have been looking for this winery.
Right?
I just thought that was hilarious.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Mark Cuban would be chomping at the bit to get that. And what's the other guy that's the good looking older guy that's always sophisticated. He's got the kind of silver pepper hair. I don't know. Shark Tank is one of those shows, if you start watching it, because they do like marathons of it, like blocks, like on a lazy Sunday or whatever.
You'll binge.
Yeah, you'll binge it. Like when we go on trips, we'll be in a hotel room and we'll put on the TV and we'll be like, all right, there's nothing on, and like Shark Tank, and we'll watch that. The other one is Bar Rescue. That's another one that we'll binge watch. And then, of course, Law and Order. Like Law and Order is just one that you can't turn off once you start. All right. The firm claimed on its website that its management team oversaw $60 billion in assets. This is Rose Lake Capital. Though it is not registered with the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, and some of its prior advisors, including former Senator Max Baucus, publicly distanced themselves from the firm. So Ilhan Omar is in fact broke, guys. The $32 million that she's worth, that was all a rumor, made up, far right-wing propaganda, bullshit, whatever you want to call it. It was all made up, guys. Take her for her word. Although she had an opportunity to come in and clear this up with the Minnesota state legislature, but she chose not to. From Just the News, Minnesota state lawmaker questions Omar's role in fraud scandal as she skips hearing. The State House Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight Committee focused on Omar's sponsorship of federal legislation in 2020 that expanded access to child nutrition programs during COVID. Committee Chair Representative Kristen Robbins said she was frustrated with Omar's refusal to testify or appear before the committee. Attorney General Keith Ellison also did not appear. Omar's office ignored multiple inquiries from the committee, while Ellison declined to come. At the center are concerns about Omar's Meals Act, which removed key safeguards from federal programs. A 2020 clip of Omar promoting the program to a Somali-speaking constituents and praising a Minneapolis restaurant was later tied to that fraud. Quote, I'm thankful for Safari being part of those places where food is being given out, Omar says in the video. Each day, Safari gives out 2,300 family and kids meals. That was all fake. No meals were given out. That was all fake. The restaurant was a major participant in the Feeding Our Future scheme, which siphoned off more than $250 million from taxpayer-funded child nutrition programs. How long till we see accountability with that? Like, I think we're going to see an arrest there relatively soon.
I think so. I think she's going to try to flee, actually.
You think so? Go back to Somalia?
I don't know if she'll try to go back there, but I think she's going to hang in to the last second. And once the indictment comes and she realizes that they can't protect her, that the mechanism that shields her is done, then I think she tries to bounce.
You heard it here first. Alpha thinks she's going to flee. Pick a country.
Man,
it's got to be
a lot of these clowns feel safe in Europe. I think somewhere in Europe.
Interesting. And then she'll marry her brother and become a citizen of that country and run for office on a fraudulent election and rule over that country.
Once we secure the United States, I can't wait till we go over to Europe and start whipping the ass out of the globalists out there and make Europe beautiful again.
I mean, if we secure the United States, the globalists, they essentially fade away into nothing in our relevance.
Well, they'll try to. I agree in our relevance, yeah, but they'll try to regroup. But
Prussia, man, nation, an army without a nation. That's what they are. All right. So speaking of fraud, President Trump chiming in on the referendum from 2 days ago, from Tuesday. A rigged election took place last night in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. All day long, Republicans were winning. The spirit was unbelievable until the very end when, of course, there was a massive mail-in ballot drop. Where have I heard that before? And the Democrats eked out another crooked victory. 6-5 goes to 10-1, and yet the presidential election was a very close 50-50 split. In addition to everything else, the language of the referendum was purposefully unintelligible and deceptive. I don't think it was unintelligible, but it was 100% deceptive. 100%. As everyone, and yes, I am going to go there. Wait, where is it? It was 100%.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Well, then call me Lord Lupo or Lord CannCon, because I'm telling you right now, it was 100% deceptive. As everyone knows, I am an extraordinary, brilliant person. I love it. And even I had no idea what the hell they were talking about in that referendum, and neither do they. Let's see if the courts will fix this travesty of justice, President Donald J. Trump. And then, of course, we did get Ken Cuccinelli putting this out on X. Update on referendum lawsuits. The Tazewell Circuit Court judge ruled the referendum unconstitutional. The judge entered an injunction blocking certification of the election and denied a motion to stay pending appeal. A final order will be entered once drafted, and it will be immediately appealed. So again, you guys heard it here first. Well, maybe not first, but you guys heard it here. That injunction doesn't mean that much, because the Supreme Court had already vowed to take this up. So I don't know how familiar you are with the situation that took place out there, but this has been like an ongoing court battle. And I didn't know this, to be honest. I had to do my own research and read the filings and everything else like that yesterday, and then wrote up an article on this. But this has been an ongoing thing. And this same judge here, Judge Jack Hurley, at Tazewell, I think it's Tazewell. Somebody will correct me in the chat. But he's already ruled in 2 separate cases that this referendum was unconstitutional. There's 6 strikes that we outline on why we vote this Friday. We'll talk more in depth about this. But the problem that I have with this, Alpha, is the Supreme Court in Virginia allowed this to happen and stayed the restraining order on the election and allowed this to happen. They had plenty of time. They had plenty of time to rule on this based on the merits. They kicked the can down the road. And now this is, we're seeing the thing with the SPLC, right? The Southern Poverty Law Center, and how they put informants into these groups to agitate them and incite all this. This is the same thing at the judicial level. This is the court saying, we're going to allow this. We're going to ignore this case where a judge said on 6 separate ways that this is unconstitutional. We're going to ignore that. Let this election go. And then when the Democrats win, we're going to take the toy away from them. And that's not going to be a good thing. That's going to incite a lot of turmoil in Virginia and probably throughout the nation.
I don't see a problem with that.
No, well,
chaos. No, I do see a problem with that. That's just every now and then the Marine side of me just says, say this. And it's just, Then the logical side says,
color revolutionist you.
Yeah, behave. No, you're right. I mean, look at the Ninth Circuit here, that we deal with. Yeah, it's getting better. There's some people on there getting some bravery now, which is good. But this infestation exists everywhere. But
Yeah.
it's being exposed, and that's the part that's important.
But
Because
this is
because here's the thing: we've always looked at what's the most important election, and we always look at the president, and people are starting to realize, like, do you know the names of the judges or their backgrounds on your ballot? Because those are some important damn positions.
I don't think we should elect judges. I really don't think that people should be electing judges. There is no way that your average American at the state level knows enough about a judge, a circuit court judge in their district. There's no way.
Then who do we give that responsibility to then?
That's a great question.
Because that'd be way too much for a president to a point.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then if you give it to the governor, well, then all of a sudden you can see how something can start to look like a uni party really quick. I think the only safe thing is for us to realize that we better start getting educated on it. We need to be educated on picking our sheriff, on picking our judges, and picking our DA.
Yeah, but so the problem here is that it's the legal system itself is become so complicated. Even when you look at this referendum in Virginia, when it passed the General Assembly, they're supposed to put it in common English, right? And the legislature in Virginia apparently decided that restore fairness is the common English that explains what this referendum was supposed to do. And this is what President Trump is referring to when he says it's unintelligible, or it's deceptive and misleading and doesn't make sense. The legal system
here in California, every damn thing is deceptive like that.
Yeah, I agree. But we have the same problem in Florida. Like, we had a penny tax, right? And they're like, do you want to pay a penny tax to make your roads better? And it's like, well, it's just really deceptive, because everybody's gonna be like, oh, sure, I'll pay a penny tax to make my roads better. Well, pennies add up, right? And you chip away at every single thing that you're buying, and you're adding a penny to it, But anyways, the point with the courts, though, is like, and this is somebody that I've voted in every election since I could vote. And I skip the judges because I don't know who's who. It doesn't even, and they're nonpartisan. So it doesn't even tell you for the guys that are just be like, oh, he's got an R next to his name, I'll vote for him. It doesn't even tell you if they're partisan. Right. And so, like, the only way that you could possibly know about a judge is either A, you personally know him, or B, you're actually reading filings and decisions and opinions that he's drafted. Nobody. If you're not a lawyer or you're not vested in that judge, nobody's doing that.
And well, that's why teamwork, teamwork makes the dream work. You know what I mean? My situation was a little easier because a lot of the judges that were coming onto the ballot were people that were DAs or that I was familiar with. That did help me. But one of the things that I did see getting passed around here in Riverside County was people that created cheat sheets, Republicans. And then when it got to me, I looked through it and I was like, hey, this is pretty accurate, so I'll share it.
But now you're adding partisanship to a role that's not supposed to be partisan. When you involve Republicans and Democrats,
bullshit. I want Republican judges. I want conservative judges.
How about
we're lying when we say we want things to be bipartisan? Let's just get rid of that lie.
I just had this idea. What if you caucus for judges, and so the only people that can vote for the judges are people that attend a caucus, that attend like in person, and it's preceded by a debate.
They'll create it in a situation where it's going to be when conservatives are working. It's going to be when conservatives' kids have ball on the weekend. They'll always make it impossible for the conservatives because we fucking work.
Well, I mean, you can do it at night. You can do it, during the day. I mean, Democrats.
I agree with you, but they won't.
I'm just trying to figure out a way, because I can't think of how to elect judges, and that is one of the fundamental core issues that we have in this country is corrupt judges.
We have to take on the responsibility. That's just what it comes down to.
It's tough, man. It
is, but we've seen the consequence of when we don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, man. We need to get rid of this whole we want it to be bipartisan bullshit. It's like when they tell it's like when they tell law enforcement, we don't want you to racial profile. You lying ass people. You lying ass people. Listen, all right. Give me 20 seconds here.
Oh boy.
If you got a neighborhood that's predominantly white and I'm your cop and I'm driving through and you see some darker homies coming through, you want that shit to catch my attention. You want it to. Now, you don't want me to break laws to stop them, but you want it to catch my attention. And then from there, you want me to develop probable cause in a legal way to facilitate that traffic stop to see what these darker people doing in the neighborhood, right? It's the truth. And everybody, that's racism. Maybe it is, but it's also how you track crime. It's the same thing with when it comes to politics. We want bipartisan. No, we don't. I don't want any Democrats and liberals and independents in my government. I want it full bore conservative, all across everywhere. Supreme Court conservative. I want everybody conservative. And when they say, well, we're going to go reach across the aisle, fuck those guys. Peer pressure them. Peer pressure them. Oh, since when is it supposed to be fair?
Yeah. Maybe it's different for me. Like I live in South Florida and we're very multicultural down here, right? A lot of Spanish, a lot of black, a lot of white. And I mean, my neighbor's black and his sons are like some of the most friendly people you'll ever meet. Every time I go out there, how you doing, sir? You know, like, and I'm like,
100%.
Don't call me sir. I'm not old enough to be called sir.
If I was a cop in your neighborhood and all of a sudden there was a car with some dudes playing some Alibaba and had some towels on their head, y'all want me to stop them. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Everybody knows what I'm saying is the truth. Now, but that's why I was very careful with my words. You want that to catch my attention. Everything after that needs to be done legally. And I'm 100% there. But let's not sit there and pretend that we don't want racial profiling, criminal profiling. Hell yeah, you do. Hell yeah, you do.
Alpha's just trying to prop up the law enforcement industrial complex.
I am. Hell
totally
yeah.
kidding with that. But all right, let's hit a sponsor real quick. I got one more story on the Virginia referendum, but let's go ahead and hit a sponsor real quick before we get into this and deviate from Alpha. I'm just kidding, man. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Authoritarian.
You're not. Guys, here's a little inside scoop that many creators are talking about behind the scenes. It actually comes from, it's actually one of the reasons that we're here using Rumble, besides their incredible free speech. They made a way to super chat creators so that we get paid immediately and without any fees. YouTube and Twitch, they take up to 50% fees when you tip creators. This method, however, takes none. That's right. The platform takes 0 fees. We get to keep nearly 100% of whatever you send us. You can super chat with Bitcoin, Tether USD, or even Tether Gold stable coins. The tip will show up directly in the Rumble chat, which we'll read at the end of every show. All you need to do is download the Rumble wallet on the App Store and send the tips to your favorite creators. You can go to wallet.rumble.com, or you can download the app directly from the App Store. Seriously, what an amazing way to get rid of the middleman and help the creator economy. Shout out to Rumble for making this disruptive technology. Also, Alpha is not sponsored by SPLC, although he probably should be with that kind of talk.
I did quote them in one of my search warrants many, many, many years ago.
Did you really?
It was a statistic. It was a statistic that they had. I'm talking. This is probably like 12. No, probably longer than that. It was a very, very long time ago. But shout out to Wave the Flag 11. I love you, Wave the Flag. But Wave the Flag says, I disagree. I want lawful, not conservative or liberal. You're lying. You are virtual signaling. If our government said, hey, we just passed a law and every woman has a choice whether they're going to abort her baby or not. It's their choice. Would you just be like, it's lawful. That's all I wanted. Bullshit.
Well,
you'd be like, no, I want the preservation of life. I'm against abortion. That's why we want a conservative government. The thing is we virtue signal and Wave. I do it too. We all do it. I'm just picking on you because you put it in the chat. No, we want things that are conservative. We want to get there the lawful way, but we don't want bipartisanship.
So, the way conservatism was supposed to be was conserving the Constitution, conserving our republic, and conserving the rule of law. It's deviated from that tremendously with the establishment, coming in, and conservatives now are supposed to be pro strong foreign policy, which often involves, military conflict and military operations and all that. Well, the Constitution explicitly says that Congress has to authorize, war, but haven't had a declaration of war since World War II, right? Almost all of those wars were instigated by conservatives, quote unquote conservatives. And so that's my point in that I'd rather be a constitutionalist. So I do agree with wave the flag on this. I would rather the Constitution be interpreted as it's, as it's like prima facie, exactly what it says. But the other issue we have is our law schools, and our law schools are utterly corrupt and indoctrinated and captured. And they're captured by leftists. They're captured by Marxists. They're captured by, the Frankfurt School agenda. And when you have that, these lawyers are coming out of there, which eventually rise to, the prominence of becoming a judge. All judges, or most judges, I think all judges, formerly lawyers or, law have a degree in law. They are taught to subvert the Constitution and to manipulate it to fit whatever their agenda is. And that's what I try and get away from. It's just a difficult thing, man, to try and root out.
I got some ideas.
All right, here's Axios. Virginia's redistricting vote sets a spending record. Virginia's vote is the most expensive in the state's history. Pro and anti-redistricting groups spent more than $83 million on the referendum as of April 14th, which means it's probably higher because you usually get a nice influx right before the election itself, like in the days leading up to it. 62 million of that came from organizations that support the measure. Previously, it dwarfs the 10.2 million spent on a pro-casino pact in Richmond's failed second casino bid. So that's the highest. So then I started again playing around with the machine, and I asked it to list the top 5 nationwide, referendums and ballot proposals, et cetera, not candidate races, like races for an elected position, but for things that are on the ballot, referendums, et cetera. And number 1 is the redistricting in Virginia, 83 million. The casino referendum in Virginia is number 2 at 61 million. And then it tails off bigly. Florida's casino gambling amendment in 2024, 38 million. Prop 26 and 27 in California in 2022, 30 million, followed by Prop 22 gig workers, 224 million. I don't know why that's 5th, but there's got to be a stipulation to that, because that would be first by a lot. Maybe it's 24 million. It's got to be 24 million. And just Perplexity did a little typo there. $83 million. Now here's the crazy thing. And this is, we're going to hash this out more on Why We Vote. We pre-recorded Why We Vote because tomorrow's my wife's birthday. We're going to hash this out more on Why We Vote. But imagine spending $83 million on something that has pending litigation that is most likely going to get it overturned, because there's 6 different avenues for which this is unconstitutional, what they're doing. And it's the people that know that it's unconstitutional that spent the $83 million in order to do, in order to get this passed. How much of that money do you think is put in the coffers for, an organization like SPLC to go out there and incite the color revolution to take place when this thing does get overturned? They're taking away our democracy. We voted for this, blah, 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 right? I'm telling you, man, watch this. There's gasoline that's about to be poured on the fire, and it's going to be on the Virginia Supreme Court for kicking the fucking can down the road on this referendum.
With the SPLC that you said there, if people that have watched the series I do with Colonel, the Operation Gladio, and are familiar with the Albert Einstein Institute, they're the SPLC that has been doing these creating chaos and regime changes all around the world. And so if you're familiar with the Albert Einstein Institute, what they did over there, that is essentially what SPLC was doing here. And when you talk about how much money was going into the coffers, bro, I would say probably the vast majority of it.
Yes.
And that's insane, especially when you're talking about dollar amounts like that.
Do you think that was timed? The SPLC disclosure? Do you think that was timed around Virginia?
I
mean, it comes out literally the day of the election.
It seems, it sure as hell looks like it. I guess we'll see over the next 10 days, 2 weeks, how this plays out, how much that gets brought up over there in that local media. That I didn't think about it, but yeah, I could definitely see that.
I mean, you've got the Act Blue and SPLC. Act Blue is funding these organizations, or they're the pass-through to fund these organizations. SPLC is inciting these organizations. They're the authoritative source in what's racist. Meanwhile, they're the ones that are pushing the racism, like literally fueling the racism. And at the same time telling you those people are racist. It's like, bro, you're paying me. He's like, shut up if you want your cash. I think there could have been some strategy behind that. Because and this Virginia thing is extremely contentious when you look at the picture on how this legally has played out. It never should have gotten to this point. Never. But that's a broken system. That is a broken system when you have checks and balances in government, and one of the checks and one of the balances says, we're not going to touch this until the people. And I put a post up this morning and I said, this is the equivalent of giving a child a toy, knowing that it's a dangerous toy, letting them play with it until they really love this toy, and then taking it away because it could hurt them. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, like, you give the people this vote, and now you're going to take it away from them, and they're going to be furious because they've been indoctrinated that we have to stop Trump. Tim Kaine was out there the other day on Fox News literally saying that this proposal is temporary. It only lasts until 2030, and it's because we have to stop Trump. We have to get people in Congress to stop Trump. He said that out loud. It's dangerous, man. I'm telling you, this is a spicy topic right here.
It's dangerous because of the illusion of how powerful we think the Democrats are, but they're not. And it's because they've relied on things like USAID and the Southern Poverty Law Center and others out there to go and pay people to create, the life that we see, these protests, the stuff against ICE and all that. So all of a sudden everything, all these are real issues.
Yep.
Well, if now you see SPLC get indicted, and they're not going to be the last ones. Wait till they start to talk about the Lincoln Project.
ACLU.
Clip this. The ACLU, the ADL, the Sedition Hunters.
Yep.
Wait till that crew gets brought back up. When all these people start to get indicted, all of a sudden, when things like this start to unfold, because you're right, it's taking away the toy that's going to create this chaos. Because normally that's what they would have done, but now that apparatus they're getting rug pulled now. People are going to be like, well, there's not really a whole lot of commotion on this.
Yep.
And people are going to start to realize, that squeaky wheel was never legitimate to begin with. It wasn't real.
That's a fantastic point. That is and again, that's kind of what I was alluding to with by saying, was this deliberate? Did they rug the SPLC at that very moment so that when this does get overturned, and I do think, I think the ACLU should probably be up there. They're well aware that the ACLU was involved in the Georgia elections, that they had clerks, lawyers in every single precinct in Fulton County. We disclosed on when I interviewed Bridget Thorne years ago, like 3 years ago, we found out that the ACLU clerk in her precinct, she was a poll manager, the ACLU clerk in her precinct, her laptop, her state issued laptop wasn't working. So she pulls out, the clerk pulls out their private laptop, their personal laptop, and they have access to ENET, which is their Georgia's election registration system, their voter database. And so, what type of access would you have with that? Well, the NIC report that just came out from Just the News says you could do quite a bit of damage if you have that type of access. So perhaps they're the next ones. And the reason I would look to them over like Sedition Hunters and all those other people is because ACLU is an authoritative source. They're cited, right? They like you said, you cited SPLC in a warrant. If somebody goes out and cites the ACLU to obtain a warrant or in a court document or a court proceeding, that's going to have weight to it, right? That's going to have, it's going to carry weight. So I'll land that there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when I was looking into them yesterday, I wanted to see what connections, if any, existed between SPLC and the Lincoln Project. And one of the ones that I came up with, it requires a deeper dive, but this is surface level. In 2024 election case, the court filing hosted on SPLC's site shows SPLC lawyers representing one group of amici, AMICI, while the same what's that?
Amici, friend of the court.
Okay, Miki. While the same filing certificate of service separately lists counsel for Georgia First Incorporated and the Lincoln Project Incorporated. So these people are way more connected than people understand. And the reason I say is the Lincoln Project connects you to the Sedition Hunters. So that's how you start to build these nexuses. Like when you build the crime trees, like this is how you do it. And that's when you're going to see that I would almost guarantee, you know, my speculation, right? Be very careful here. My speculation would be you would absolutely, if you do the appropriate investigating, you're going to find money from the SPLC that was put into the Sedition Hunters, and it was probably routed through the Lincoln Project.
Yeah, I agree. Gateway Pundit had this Patty McMurray, who's fantastic covering elections in Michigan, especially. Dirty Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson was on the SPLC board when they allegedly paid the hate group in Charlottesville protesters in the Unite. Was that Unite the Right? Yeah, that was Unite the Right in the Charlottesville thing. Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State in Michigan, was on the board in 2017 for the SPLC. She went on to become Secretary of State the very next year in Michigan. By the way, she also received a ton of Zuckerbucks and ran it through her nonprofit. As Secretary of State, she ran it through her nonprofit rather than through the Secretary of State's office. The financial untangling that's going to take place here. And again, this is perhaps one of the reasons why we haven't seen the movement the way we want to from the FBI on this, is because these are very what's the word? These are intricate crimes, right? Financial crimes are very difficult to unwind, right? You're dealing with shell companies, shell corporations. You're dealing with money that's being laundered offshore and then brought back. And it's not cut and dry like a murder investigation, right? Well, we found the gun, we found the body, the forensics match, 30-06 can blow your neck out, like that kind of shit, right? It's not that's cut and dry. That was a joke there, because I don't believe that a 30-06 can blow your neck out, or it would blow your neck out, I should say. But this is the difference between financial crimes, and I think there's going to be a lot of financial crimes in this, because that's how you rig elections. That's how you coup a government. You start with the finances. You start with the color revolutions. You start with funding these small groups through these larger entities through, you know, many pass-throughs. And the SPLC, man, launching that is starting at the top. So there's got to be a higher up than the SPLC. They've been funded. I mean, we covered this yesterday. They're making more money than Special Olympics and the USO. The USO has 6.5 million people that go through their services per year. And the SPLC is making more money in donations and grants than the USO. I don't buy that for a second.
There's somebody who agrees with you. You know who it is?
Who?
The president. Why do you think he created Doge, bro?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I said that the finances.
I said that the day the SPLC thing came down, I said Doge found this all out. Like Doge got this, and you saw like a couple weeks ago. Remember, there was like this meltdown over all the Doge, the autists that were working for Doge, right? The autistic teenagers and 20-somethings that were working for Doge, and they're going after him hardcore. And I start watching these videos, and I'm like, there's nothing there. Like that guy's fine in his response, but they're twisting his words around. And
here's the part where I'm gonna piss off all of us constitutionalists, right? I'm gonna get kicked out of the constitutional group.
I might kick you out of the group. Right. I might kick you off the show.
I guarantee you this is what's going on, because remember, you need search warrants and shit to find stuff, right? But Elon at Doge probably went over to someone the FBI, said, look at right here what I found over here at SPLC. But now you got to find a legal way to say you found it. I guarantee you. And some would argue that that's borderline illegal, definitely unethical. And I would say this is unrestricted warfare, baby.
We've had that discussion before about how easy it is for you to illegally do a search, not submit it as evidence, but then be able to obtain a way to legally get that evidence, right? Like if you break into somebody's house, if you're a cop and you go into somebody's house and you see something there that you're not supposed to see, you can be like, how can I get a warrant to get that? And then you start building the case backwards. Instead of leading up to getting that evidence and the needle in the haystack, you put the needle in the haystack and then you figure out how to get that haystack.
If you're a corrupt cop, you do this. You tell a tweaker, hey, I know he's growing some stuff in his backyard that he ain't supposed to grow. So you're going to ride down the street on your bike, and then I'm going to chase you, and you're going to run to his backyard, and I'm going to jump the fence to catch you because you got that little 8-ball in your pocket. And then when I catch that 8-ball in your pocket, I'm going to give you a pass because now I saw everything that's in his yard. And now you do a search warrant. But see,
scumbag.
But I never did that. I'm just saying. The thing is, you know how to think like a bad guy. You have to. And I guarantee you that's what it's like going on right now. Unrestricted warfare, baby.
All right, let's jump into this story. Last story on the referendum stuff, I think. Yes, it is. Just the news. Redistricting battle comes down to Florida after Democratic victory in Virginia referendum. There's a reason, I think, that Axios put out that story yesterday. Did you see the story Axios put out yesterday about Ron DeSantis?
I did not.
Ron DeSantis is allegedly begging Trump for a position in his administration because he terms out in 2026. So he's done. And we're going to elect a new governor. And Ron DeSantis is not going to have anything to do. If Ron DeSantis would have been smart, he wouldn't have tried to primary President Trump last year in 2024. He wouldn't have tried to primary Trump. He would have rode out on Trump's coattails as a staunch Trump ally, taken this time off between 2026 and 2028 and thrown his hat into the ring to be the next president. Instead, he completely destroyed all of his credibility with most of MAGA, not all of them. There's still some DeSantards out there. But now Axios puts out this article yesterday that he's seeking Secretary of War, Attorney General, or a Supreme Court nomination. Now, the Supreme Court nomination is interesting because that's a lifetime appointment, right? So you're not going to go from that and become president. I think there's only one Supreme Court justice that went on to become president, and it might have been McKinley. Look that up. Fact check me on that real quick. There's one Supreme Court justice that became president, and I can't remember who it was. I think it's McKinley. But all right, so redistricting battle comes down to Florida after Democrat victory. It says Governor DeSantis is spearheading an effort to redraw the state's congressional districts before the midterm elections after he called a special session of the state legislature earlier this year. White House spokesman Harrison Fields posted on X that, quote, Virginia is a purple state being drawn as deep blue. Florida should draw a map that's even redder and get it passed ASAP. Mark Meadows posted to X that over 2 million Americans have moved to the Sunshine State since 2020, and the old congressional maps no longer reflect the state. DeSantis delayed the special session until next week, ostensibly to give his office more time to propose a new map. Now, if the Supreme Court delivers a ruling in Louisiana versus Calais, a landmark redistricting case it's currently considering, it could radically change how the Voting Rights Act governs state maps. The Supreme Court has not yet issued that ruling. I don't know what they're waiting on. That's a weird case. They had a hearing, or they had oral arguments back in, I think June of 2025 or March of 2025. And then they called back in for new oral arguments in October of 2025. Clarence Thomas dissented on that and said, no, we need to rule on this quickly because this is going to have impacts on upcoming elections. So we've been waiting since October of 2025 for a decision on this case. It will allow them to draw out the special districts in their states currently represented by Democrats, but it's not represented by Democrats in Florida, which is kind of strange. Florida has 5 majority-minority districts, meaning the majority of the people there are minority in race, 2 of which are represented by Democrats, which means the other 3 are conservative. And in Florida's unique because we have a lot of Hispanics in Florida. In terms of minority population, we have a lot of Hispanics, and they're very conservative down here. Like our Hispanic population, Miami's a red county now. So that's interesting. Did you find it?
Yeah, it was William Howard Taft, the only U.S. president to serve as a Supreme Court justice after serving as a 27th president.
There you go. There you go. Taft, who's okay. Hakeem Jeffries sharply warned Florida Republicans directly not to pursue redistricting after the Democrat victory in Virginia, saying we will aggressively target defeat Mario Diaz-Balart, Maria Elvira Salazar, which you can have her, Carlos Jimenez, you can have him, Kat Kamek, you can have him, Anna Paulina Luna, Laurel Lee, Corey Mills, and Brian Mast, you can have him too. And then DeSantis' response to this was pretty epic. DeSantis in a press conference yesterday says, quote, please be my guest to Hakeem Jeffries. I will pay you to come campaign. I will put you up in the Florida's governor's mansion. We'll take you fishing. Nothing could be better for Florida Republicans than to see Hakeem Jeffries everywhere around this state. I would remind Hakeem Jeffries that the Florida Gators, the team in Central Florida, you can no longer say Gator bait because that's racist, because apparently there's like this utterly retarded thing that Floridians used to use black people for bait when we would go alligator hunting. I kid you not. That was the excuse for getting rid of gator bait as a cheer for the Florida Gators.
Well, did you guys really do that?
I don't know. There's probably like some stupid thing, like, I don't know, a long time ago. JB thinks it's stupid, so I'm going to go with it's stupid. But he's also a Gator alumni, so
summon the token black dude.
No, he's the token Zionist. Cam is the token black guy.
Cam is not black.
All right, so
I am more black than Cam.
Damn. Shots fired. I'm going to have to clip that and send that to Cam. So Florida, the whole redistricting battle. I mean, so we take out just Virginia, where, we're talking here about the potential of the Virginia Supreme Court overturning the Virginia referendum. Taking away the will of the voters will be the cry of the Democrats. Meanwhile, Texas has redrawn their maps. I think California is going to be unconstitutional. Yeah, but I think you guys are going to get overturned.
I hope so.
I'm hoping.
So.
But Florida's going to be doing it. So I was playing again. I was playing around with the machine this morning, and it's states like Georgia, Texas, Alabama, North Carolina, Missouri could redraw their maps post 2026 midterms for the 2028 election, potentially flipping at least 15 Republican favoring seats in the 2028 election if Louisiana versus Calais does uphold it under the 14th Amendment that racial gerrymandering is in fact unconstitutional, which it should be. It should be. And I'll land that there.
I got polled yesterday on California politics.
Did you really?
I did. And I was like, y'all don't want my answer. I was like, I just put myself on another watch list. It was yeah.
Did you take the poll?
Absolutely.
Interesting. Good for you.
I was just like, I wonder if they're going to start reaching out to legitimate Republican voters.
The only polls I ever get are like Act Blue and Win Red when they're trying to not Act Blue because I don't have any affiliation with Act Blue, but Win Red will send me like a text and be like, poll, do you believe that Trump should do this, this, or this? And I'm like, stop. And then report spam.
Yeah, because then the second you answer, like, great, so contribute here. It's just like, you're just trying to take my money. Now, this was one where it listed some of the California politicians. It was heavily on some of the Democrats, but then it brought in some of the Republicans.
Yeah. All right, let's hit another sponsor before we move on. We get sidetracked. Me and Alpha always get sidetracked on our shows. So
one of the things
hold on. I gotta hit a sponsor. Hold on. And then we can bring that back up. Guys, have you tried 1775 coffee yet? Now is your chance. The 1775 starter kit just dropped with only 1,000 units available. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom is not scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your father-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler, $170 worth of coffee and gear for $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. All right, go ahead. What were you saying? You're muted, rookie.
One of the answers that it offered in some of these things was, I don't know enough about this person to have an opinion. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty interesting, because there was a few people where that was my answer.
The problem, and again, this is where I don't like the idea of like trying to get every single person possible to vote, because that happens a lot. And educated people like me, you know, when we go vote, you know, my wife and I go together because it's a walk right down the street. So when we go vote, you know, I talk to my wife about candidates and basically, you know, I tell her who I'm voting for, and we align on just about every issue. So she usually votes similar to me. But I'll tell her, like, if you don't know who somebody is, don't vote for them. Like, don't vote in that particular race, like, because you're saturating that with uneducated votes. And so, you know, this is what happens with the judges mostly, you know. So she's probably one of those ballots that goes in there and votes president, Senate, House, and maybe like our mayor, because we know our mayor, and maybe like some of that stuff. But like a lot of people, this is why I don't necessarily think that you need to go out there and push every single person to vote, because most people aren't going to know. And mail-in balloting is the worst perpetrator for what would you call it, for expanding this, right? Because you get a mail-in ballot and you're like, I've got 5 minutes, let me just fill this thing out, right? And you sit down, fill it out, put it in the mail, and you're good to go. You don't have to take the actual effort to get in your car or walk down to your precinct, go in, check in, vote, go scan your thing, get your little sticker and all that. You just put it in the mail and you're good to go. So anyways, I'm going off. All shows are why we vote now.
All shows are why we vote. When we get elections to be completely legitimate, fair, and honest, 100% agree with you. For now, because we're in unrestricted warfare, here's my advice to everybody. Vote every single Republican in every single position, whether you like them or you don't. Every single Republican, because we're forcing the anomaly. You got to look at the elections right now as a weapon system. So when you go to the ballot, RRRR, Susan Collins, vote. The horrific, stupid, ladybug, disgusting Lindsay, vote. We vote Republican down ticket in every single ballot, everywhere. You got to force the anomaly. What's that?
Even Lindsey Graham?
Even ladybug Lindsay.
I've been waiting to use this one.
Oh, come on, dude. He literally touches himself to pictures of nuclear warheads.
I've been waiting to use that one.
Even ladybug Lindsay, you got to force the anomaly on every single vote that's out there. You got to force them to create the fraud in a massive way, so it could be documented. And then once we got these elections secured, then I align with Brian. If you don't know, then pass on it. You know.
For the public out there, I just want to remind you guys that Alpha tested as a liberal libertarian in the last sit rep that we did. So just want to remind you guys of that.
I did not.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you did. You were liberal libertarian.
No,
yeah, you were. You were on the line for liberal conservative. You were spot dead in the middle, but you were up libertarian. So I'm gonna give you the
one box.
I'm going to give you the liberal because you were probably had a subliminal skewing of your answers.
No, I thought my answers were pretty honest.
Yeah, they were.
And which is what really surprised me. I was like, I got to work on this authoritarian shit. Like I was very unsatisfied.
Arrest them all. Racial profile everybody.
Yeah, man. I'm going full authoritarian now.
It's because you haven't been on the beat for too long, man. You've been off the beat. You've been off the beat for too long.
It's probably probably not wrong.
You've been hanging out with the stoner CannCon for too long. There you go. All right. From Center Square, Florida, Mills Corey Mills heeds Johnson advice, allows process to play out. Speaker Johnson said that the investigation into Corey Mills by the committee should be complete before any chamber action. Corey Mills saying, I do not plan to resign, even though they're trying to expel him right now. The resolution filed on Monday by Nancy Mace with the Ethics Committee is probing accusations of campaign finance law violations, special favors received in his position, sexual misconduct, and misused congressional resources. Quote, I personally think that you should allow due process, Johnson said. Mace is also under investigation for her reimbursement practices. Mills said that he has not been arrested and does not face criminal charges. A civil restraining order was issued last fall involving an issue with his former girlfriend. And then we jump over to Ed Martin, weaponization working group head at the DOJ, was talking with Kara Castronova with Lindell TV, and he's going to kind of outline. A lot of people may not know the Corey Mills story and how all of this came about. So here it is, straight from Ed Martin, who was the acting U.S. attorney in D.C. at that time.
As usual, the fake news is not telling the story. The story is the Metropolitan Police Department, the MPD, failed in their job. And then they wanted a mop-up job. And it wasn't the Trump administration or anyone else's job to do that. And I think Washington Post and others are reporting it incorrectly. MPD failed. There was, frankly, the leadership at the top failed. And that's the story. And to go into the facts, at the time I was U.S. attorney, when something like this happens, according to the MPD policies, their policy is when there's a domestic violence issue, they go out to the site and they're going to take someone away. That's their policy. I'm not here to argue for it, but that's what their policy is. In this case, their supervisor, the commander on that day, was called and he said, let them all stay there. And that's what they did. We were notified that there had been an incident. It happened to be Corey Mills, but there are incidents every night and all kinds of things going on. And the next morning, as the story broke in the press, MPD incompetently said, now you have to indict the guy. And we said, you didn't have probable cause last night. You didn't put it together last night. Right. And now you're changing your story. Why? And the reason why is because it was a mop-up job because of the attention it was getting. And again, I have no position on anybody's conduct. I have a position on the fact that the higher-ups at the MPD decided to try to fix what is frankly just corruption. It's corruption, whether they were, I don't know if they paid to do it, but they were corrupt because their worldview, their sense was, we're going to do what we want and then we're going to make somebody else cover it up. And so we didn't do that. And I will say, career prosecutors in my office said, oh, well, maybe we should do it. You know, they're asking nice. There has to be standard. The rule of law is based on the rules and they're being abided by. And again, if they'd gone and interviewed somebody the next day, if they had brought the purported victim or others in and said, we now have probable cause, that's a different argument. That's not what they try to do.
So Alpha, you were on the beat once upon a time. I'm sure you've been to your share of domestic violence situations. What Ed Martin is saying there, does that make sense to you?
It absolutely makes sense. Now, not all agencies have a standing law where somebody has to be removed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's going to depend on what happened. Now, here's the thing is, if there's an allegation of a physical contact, then somebody has to go to jail. So, you know, this sounds, you know, domestic violence as in screaming and breaking shit and threats, you know, because if somebody was actually physically, you know, assaulted, you know, even if something as simple as a push, somebody's going to jail. And so if they had room in the higher ups to say, hey, you know, we'll pass on this the next day, then it makes me wonder what allegations were made at that time. Because I can see a scenario, and there's obviously hypothetical, where it's like, oh yeah, it's because, you know, they just told us they were breaking and screaming and threats were made. And then the next morning she calls and follows up and says, well, now I was hit. And they didn't tell her last night. Then I could see that, okay, now you're going to go and someone needs to indict that dude. Yeah.
But he said explicitly that there was any additional information provided.
Exactly. So what that leads me to believe is the initial reporting and allegations made were absent any type of physical violence.
Interesting. So, you know, again, I've kind of stayed out of the Corey Mills thing. I have no opinion on Corey Mills one way or the other. You know, he says base things all the time, and that means next to nothing to me at this point in time.
You know, he is the first, this was last year. I want to say this was about early to mid last year. He was in a space and I went and asked a question. You know, everybody, I think people don't bring me up anymore when congressmen are there because I don't ask them what's their favorite ice cream. What's your favorite team? What do you like in basketball? So I go and I said, hey, Corey, or as I said, you know, Congressman Mills, yeah, are you familiar with the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act? Kind of like I did with Congressman Burchett. And he actually was. He was. And he actually said that they were writing a bill to try to get it repealed, and it was getting pushed back against them. And so I was just like, oh shit. He's the only congressman I've ever heard mention it.
Yeah. I think
he didn't mention it, but you know, elicited through question, but still actually had working knowledge of it and was part of a group of people that are trying to repeal it. Now, like I said, regarding the other stuff on him, haven't dove too deep into it. You know, I've read some of the articles that were out there, but I also happen to know some people that are pretty close to them, and so like very, very close to him, and reached out to them for some clarity on this, and they provided me some insight. And there's definitely more context that was being reported, but I won't form an opinion one way or the other because I just don't know.
Read that headline for me, please.
Rep. Massey introduces bill to protect Americans from federally funded propaganda.
Read the first line.
Today, Representative Thomas Massey introduced H.R. 5704, the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2013 to protect American audiences from domestic decimation of federally funded propaganda by the State Department of the United States Agency for Global Media and their component networks.
That's my boy right there. That's my boy.
Now go research his timeline and put in my handle and see who was bombing that on him before he did that. That's your boy too.
Okay, what does that have to do with the other? That's what they're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do. Everybody's supposed to.
Hey, if you're up against this stuff, why don't you do this? If you're up against this stuff, why don't you do this?
Wait, then you just lied to me. You said Corey Mills is the first.
I didn't realize he did something with it.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, Massey's been all over the Smith-Mundt.
And Corey Mills was the first one because that was October of 2025. And I said the first part to the middle of 2025.
We need to prop that up, man. Got to make sure Massey.
I've said Massey.
Isn't Massey running against a Green Beret or a SEAL?
No, I think it is a Green Beret.
Yeah.
Galligan, whatever his name is. He seems like pretty dope.
So I had
Massey's gonna get his ass kicked, bro. I'm here for it.
No, he's not.
Remember, steak and lobster dinner.
I'll cook it for you. I ain't buying it for you.
We already bet. Can't go back on the bet.
You have a clip of it?
I can go get one.
Okay. I don't remember making that bet, but I don't remember steak and lobster.
As a matter of fact, I even think it was on Daily. I don't even think that was a separate one.
We split a steak and lobster dinner in Plymouth.
That was delicious.
Yeah, I convinced you finally to eat a ribeye with or a steak medium rare, and you're like, wow. What's that?
It still had a heartbeat.
Hell yeah. That's how it's supposed to be. All right. Homeland Security. HSI arrests convicted murderer who sent threats to ICE director saying law enforcement officers we'll read what he says. So this is Todd Lyons, and Todd Lyons just resigned. What's up?
Did you read the headline?
Yeah.
Times because you're like, what?
No. It's in here. So I'm if I read the headline, the story goes away. So, but Todd Lyons resigned. And he cited as part of his resignation threats to his family and stuff. It says here, DHS arrested U.S. citizen Daniel Barber for sending a violent death threat to acting ICE director Todd Lyons. Quote, "Your Gestapo, Nazi, maggot ICE agents should be terrified," Barber said in an email, adding that ICE law enforcement officers, quote unquote, deserve to be, quote, executed right there as well with 2 fucking bullets to the back of their maggot Nazi heads. Quote, "And that is not a threat, you little fucking bitch, but simply my opinion as to what those worms deserve. I'll be effing praying daily to the universe Americans start rising up and giving them and you exactly that." It sounds like that last little like insert there was like him being like, oh shit, I crossed the line. Let me try and walk that back. This is just my opinion. It's not a threat. It goes on to say Barber has a lengthy criminal history, including a conviction for murder and robbery with intent to cause bodily harm in 1990, and has multiple arrests for burglary, battery, and vehicle theft. Do those things come into weight when you're assessing whether or not something's an actionable threat?
Absolutely.
Okay. I figured it did, so I wasn't 100% sure. I mean, everything he said right there to me rises to the level of a threat.
My question is why is he free to begin with if he has a murder charge?
With intent to do bodily harm, I agree.
That should be a life sentence, if not the death penalty. The guy should never be free.
Would it depend on whether it was first, second, or third degree to you?
There's some very extenuating circumstances, like heat of passion. You know what I mean?
Right. That would be third degree, right?
A dude's child, is assaulted in a very horrific way, and they go and do something. I would say that there are some sanity issues in situations like that. But anything that is clear intent, premeditated, absent those kind of things, no, life sentence and death penalty. I think it should be a very, very, very narrow window where that's not the case.
We just had the anniversary of what was the guy that Curtis, whatever, that shot the guy that raped his son or that sexually molested his son. Remember that? We just had that anniversary. He's sitting there on the phone, and when he walks by, pulls out a little 32 snub nose, puts one right in his dome, and he gets off. He had no penalty. Like he got like conviction, but like time served.
Well, you have who's the UFC fighter that went.
Yeah.
We just got released a little while ago. Freaking Kane, isn't it Kane? I think it was Kane.
I don't remember his name.
I don't know
the story.
But he didn't kill a guy. I mean, he was trying to, and when he got news that this dude had molested his son.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, man. It should never went to jail in the first place, but yeah.
I agree. United States Attorney Bill Asiley says huge legal, and this ties into the Todd Lyons story that we just covered right there. Huge legal victory this morning in the Ninth Circuit, where the court permanently enjoined California's unconstitutional mask law targeting federal agents. Quote, we conclude that Statute 10 of the No Vigilantes Act attempts to directly regulate the United States in its performance of governmental functions. The Supremacy Clause forbids the state from enforcing such legislation. The United States is therefore likely to succeed on the merits of its Supremacy Clause claim, and the other preliminary injunction factors also weigh in its favor. Thus, we grant the motion for an injunction pending appeal. And I think that also includes the identity badges. So originally that case was the appellate courts had overturned it, saying that California is trying to enact this law on federal agents, but not their own. So like local California officers, certain task force and stuff could continue to wear masks, but federal agents couldn't. And they're like, no, that's unequal application. Now it sounds like it's completely overturned, saying that you cannot tell the federal government what they can and cannot do when it comes to something that involves their officers, their agents, and their safety. So I know you're for that. I'm kind of wishy-washy on that one. I understand.
I am 100% for it. And when I was part of a raid on one of El Chapo's cousins out here in Southern California, and not only did we mask up, that name tape
came off. Yeah,
came off. And reason being is that if they know you're an investigating agent, these people will then target your family.
Yep. I totally get that. Yeah. My point is, like, the guys are just driving in their cars down the street and they don't have a mask on.
For general patrol duties, outside of weather conditions and things like that, if you're in an environment where there's dust and stuff like that, I get it. But just if there's nothing that has to do with inclement weather, and you're just doing general patrol duties, no, you shouldn't have anything covered up.
Yeah. And the reason I bring that up is because, like, yesterday, so we just got done talking about Corey Mills, right? And yesterday with Ash, we were talking about Sheriff McCormick, who just resigned, my congresswoman down here. And I said, this was unpopular with the chat, of course, not everybody in the chat, but most of the chat, some of the chat, I should say. I don't think she should have resigned, just like Corey Mills shouldn't resign. And I also think the ethics committee in Congress treated her unfairly by holding a quote unquote trial for her charges that are pending in federal court, like holding an ethics committee hearing before you go to federal court, is to me, it's interfering with due process. The same thing with Corey Mills. That's why I don't think Corey Mills should resign either. And I don't think there should be any ethics committee investigations into him while he doesn't have pending charges, but there's civil cases in federal court, I believe, against him. But either way, until there's a ruling and a decision, I don't think he should be pressured out of resigning, because there's a lot of controversy around that case. Same thing with this here, like the masking thing. Everybody's like, oh, ICE should absolutely be allowed to wear masks. Look at these crazy leftists and everything. Did we feel the same way when the FBI was kicking down J6ers' doors and they were wearing masks? Because I don't think we did. I think when that was happening, I was saying, why are these FBI agents wearing masks?
No, I understood why they were wearing masks.
Oh, I get it.
You know, it's one of those things where I get what you're saying.
Let me finish that thought.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, finish your thought.
Finish that thought real quick, because I know what the argument's going to be, and I 100% agree with this argument. These were FBI raids against U.S. citizens that were exercising their First Amendment right. ICE is going after illegal immigrants that have ties to gangs and all that. So I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and I get why you're saying it, but it's the same thing where I'd rather have 100 bad guys go free than arrest one innocent person.
Yes,
and in this situation, it's I'd rather protect these scumbag corrupt cops in order to protect the ones that aren't, and let the system find those other guys the way it should, because the system will find them. Yep. But you don't want to jeopardize good ones in the process.
Ran 132 says maybe the ethics committee is a get out of jail card. It gives bias. Yep, I said that when that decision came down from the ethics committee like a month ago. I said that right away. I said, you just tainted an entire jury in her federal case. So not only should she not have resigned and should they not have done that, but they shouldn't have done that because it also could be her get out of jail free card. I said that 3 weeks ago. I didn't say it yesterday though. So that's a good observation, Rand. Excellent observation. Let's jump into this story here real quick. Just a little bit of a moment here where we have RFK Jr. going toe-to-toe with Elizabeth Warren and calling out her corruption with the pharmaceutical industrial complex, although he doesn't say as much, but he calls on her to investigate.
When you pass the IRA.
I will hold you to that, Mr. Secretary, because if these deals with Big Pharma are so great for Americans, then we should be able to see what promises have been made.
You have the power to make this deal yourself. Why don't you do that? Why did you? We did this because you refused to do it.
I think what we've got is Trump.
You have a lot more power to negotiate than we do.
Stakes.
We got the lowest prices in history.
By healthcare costs, and you and Donald Trump are actually making the problem worse. The American public deserves better.
So I apologize. I didn't realize the volume was going to be that low on that. So I apologize. But she's basically saying, hey, HHS, you guys need to investigate this. And Kennedy fires back and says, you have more power than I do. You investigate it. But Elizabeth Warren won't. She just wants to go up there and take her shots at RFK because she can. And for speech and debate clause, she can take her shots at RFK, completely deflect any responsibility to herself and satisfy her Big Pharma donors, which I'm pretty sure she has quite a few, doesn't she?
I don't know, but it wouldn't shock me if she did.
I should have checked this, but I remember when they were trying to confirm her, he called her out specifically on this, her and Bernie Sanders. Right? Let me make sure I'm saying this correctly, because maybe it's the opposite. Yeah, she's received almost $1 million from Big Pharma in 2019 to 2020 in one cycle. Doesn't have anything more recent than that. So yes, I will stand by that. Elizabeth Warren, I like seeing the RFK Jr. holding her feet to the fire on this. Trump has been ruthless against Big Pharma, man. He's been. Have we talked about the press conference on Saturday morning that he did?
Have we talked about it?
Yeah, well, I don't think we've talked about that yet. We haven't been on a show together since then. What do you think about that?
Blast them all. As a matter of fact, people like Elizabeth Warren, go back and investigate all those Big Pharma, dollars that came in.
No, he Trump authorized research into ibogaine.
Yeah, with the psilocybin or whatever.
No, not psilocybin. Ibogaine it's a psychedelic, but it's not psilocybin.
Psychedelics. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's a one-time treatment, bro. Take away your addictions and all sorts of other issues, man.
Trump. So I got to give it. It was funny. It was a Democrat said Trump and it might have even been Cory Booker. It was one of them. But came out and said Trump and his fraternity is authorizing psychedelics. Like, that's pretty funny. You got to give him that. That one's hard for me to pull out of my brains. But the conversations I had with you, the conversations I had with Boone, I know how important that is to that, and the fact that he's going to have the FDA, accelerate that research. I think it's a good thing.
So the ibogaine is only a one-time use thing. You don't have to take it consistently. Like, it's one and done.
A lot of stuff can happen in one-time use. Ask people that did acid.
Bobby O'Neill, Marcus Luttrell, Rogan was up there.
Listen, there's some people that are geniuses. That look at Josh. Freaking guy's got everything. He's brilliant, but
All right, let's jump into, actually, we got one more sponsor, and then we will bring the show to a close with, we've got a lot more stories, but we got one more sponsor, and that will be the last sponsor for the show. And guys, real talk for a second here, guys. We've got, what do we got? Like, what is it? It's April 23rd. So we've got about almost 2.5 months until we celebrate America's 250th birthday, the big quarter millennial, they call it. 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters. It's not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and it's honestly a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why the ideas they fought for still matter today. This guide sends kids back to the moment when the brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well that they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way that kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free with this special offer. You just pay $2 for shipping and handling, and just head on over to freeusabirthday.com. Again, freeusabirthday.com. And the Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday for your kids is yours for free. $2 shipping and handling. America's story matters. Make your next generation know it.
I was going through the chat while you're doing the ad read, and if there was a Woodstock today, 90% of our chat would be there. You guys are crazy, man.
Fuck yeah, we would be. I would be there. Dude, if I could go back to 69 Woodstock, dude. In the chat, if you could go back to Woodstock, what band would you most want to see? I know for me, it would be not just one specific band, but a specific song. And that would be Jefferson Starship's White Rabbit. I want to hear that song live. That would be freaking dope, man. All right. From the New York Post, thousands of Palisades and Eaton Fire rebuilding permits approved after Trump's executive order. President Trump's order to fast-track the rebuilding of Los Angeles after the wildfires has resulted in almost 2,000 permits approved since it was signed in January. Trump's order let state and local rules be preempted when it came to obtaining permits and allowed builders to, quote-unquote, self-certify that they have complied with substantive health, safety, and building standards. It says Los Angeles County has issued 971 permits since the executive order, which is a 72% increase. Los Angeles City has issued 961 permits since then, with a 58% increase, the EPA revealed to the Post. And this is a contrast to the story we covered about 2 weeks ago. Humiliating report reveals LA wildfire victims are trapped in a rebuild nightmare, where only at that point, And this report predates, I believe this report predates the executive order. Only 34 homes had gone up before that. Fewer than half of the nearly 10,000 properties had even applied for rebuilding permits. And where is it? Right here. Officials had only approved 2,100 rebuilding requests so far. And Donald Trump came in, put the smackdown on and said, Gavin Newsom, not good. And now they're kicking. How's it looking out there? Have you been to the Palisades?
I haven't been there since like shortly after the fires. So I haven't seen the rebuilds or anything like that.
Oh. Mandatory microdot acid before listening to White Rabbit. Steve Craw. Another one says Indigada da Vida. That would be another one, but that song's like 16 minutes long. And that would drive me crazy.
Not something like Jimi Hendrix or something like that.
Oh, I would definitely see Hendrix. Hell yeah. No question. CCR, Bad Moon Rising. That's a good one. Indigada da Vida is like one of my favorite songs too. Just because like when I was in my shop, I'd be smoking a joint like all day while I'm working and blast that song because it's like 16 minutes long. The mid in that song is literally like 7 minutes of just like doom, doom, doo, 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 doom, 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 doom. It's awesome. All right. Another story on California, Gavin Newsom. Breitbart, Gavin Newsom spent $1 billion to import 400,000 extra illegal immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them.
You know what he could have did for that with that money to the veteran?
Rebuilt the entire fucking Palisades.
No, I'm saying for the veteran community in California. That's life-changing money for all the veterans in California.
Yep. You could have rebuilt Palisades. You could have changed veterans' lives. You probably could have fixed a lot of the drug epidemic in California. But nope.
He could completely shut down the immigration crisis. He could.
Got one of the biggest stretches of the southern border besides Texas. Yep. California Governor Gavin Newsom covertly spent $1 billion importing 400,000 migrants from poor countries to serve the state's democratic political machine and elite-dominated economy, according to data provided by the Manhattan Institute in New York. Quote, since Newsom took office, California has granted massive contracts for migrant-related services, with $250 million to Catholic charities, $85 million to Jewish family services, $12 million to Centro Legal de la Raza, $23 million to Immigration Institute of the Bay Area, and more, according to an article by Christopher Rufo in the City Journal. The funding is in addition to California's share of the massive federal funding directed by Joe Biden's border chief, Alejandro Mayorkas. Yeah.
Send me that article when you have a chance.
I will put it in the chat right now. It's insane. You could go to Rufo's article. It's a little more in depth. Again, I'm just kind of showing you guys. Good.
And I don't know the specifics on it. It's been a while since I read it. You know how easy and beneficial they made it for illegals to buy homes in California compared to everybody else? It's easier for an illegal to get a home than a vet using our VA loans and all that. It is crazy. And somebody can correct me in the chat. There are situations where they like you're talking no money down. It's insane, bro. And that's why I want some of that authoritarian stuff to come into California and just say, ain't your house no more. Took it away. Illegal, you don't belong here. But we bought it. Here's the contract. Ain't yours. Sorry. Get out of here. We're gonna sell it to an American.
So I'm getting called out in the chat. So I'll pull it up now, guys. I had the show. It's a 2-hour show. There's still 22 minutes left, but I'll pull it up now. The biggest news of the day. Trump reclassifies state-licensed medical marijuana as less dangerous in a historic shift. It is now Schedule 3. From Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Absolutely massive. Yes. I will also say, you'll probably say, like, the chat will probably be like, some people in the chat, not all, will probably be like, I'm proud of you, Can. I haven't smoked weed in like 5 days now.
Will the stores sell out or something?
No, just was like, I'm going to take a break. See if anything's different. Absolutely nothing's different. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I my sleep schedule's a little shittier, but absolutely nothing's different.
It's
Also,
you're in the detoxifying process right now.
Also, no cravings, no, like, I'm not like jonesing. I was telling somebody last night because I was out for Christy's birthday, and we went to like this bar where she was doing line dancing or whatever, and all her friends were there, and one of them like offered me a vape pen. I'm like, no, I'm kind of taking a break, and I'm like, what? And that's what they said. I'm like, what? And I was like, yeah, I just wanted to see if I could do it, take a break, see what was going to happen, and it's been fine. Absolutely fine. Like, not even like Christy still is whatever at night and stuff. And she's like, you want a joint? Nope, I'm good. She's like, who are you? I'm telling you, people don't understand. It's not addicting. It's not addictive. It is not. Bro, I'm addicted. Like, I am an addict for nicotine, right? I've been dipping and well, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I've been dipping for 25 years. Not at all addicted to, like, so I have the addictive personality gene, not at all addicted to cannabis, man.
If you get to 30 days, I'll believe you. I'll believe you. It's not addictive.
This is the hardest part. It's supposed to be the couple days after. That's the hardest part.
Not if you know you're going to do it eventually.
It's not addicting. Green Ozone agrees with me. It's all a mental game.
You hit 30 days, I'll believe you.
Okay. That's my goal is 30 days. So my goal. And it was even harder. I didn't smoke on 420. Yep. See?
I got you. Listen, I give you massive flowers for that one.
See? I didn't smoke on 420.
All right.
I honestly, though, I kind of want to see, because like I've been getting a lot of flack for that, like from people. They're like, oh, you're addicted to it. And I'm like, no, I'm not addicted. I tell you flat out, there's no addiction. For me, at least, there's no addiction whatsoever. But I've been trying to see like if there's any differences. I had a guy that used to work for me that would smoke all the time, and he quit, and he's like, "Oh, I feel better." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let me see. I don't notice anything at all. But all right, let's keep moving here.
D-Dub's comments are the best. Not addictive. I've stopped several times for years at a time.
Yeah, it's not addictive, but okay.
You never stopped. So yes. D-Dub. Yes, it's addictive. There's a reason you didn't stop.
What?
I stopped several times, but then I kept going back to it. Yes, because you're addicted.
No, it's because you just take a break. That's all.
That's what a crackhead says. Stop. Crack
can kill you. Weed can't kill you, bro.
Weed can kill you. Get behind a wheel.
All right, we got to move on. You're out of your mind. Get behind a wheel. That's not what kills you. The wheel kills you. The car kills you.
No, being under the influence kills you.
Oh, well, then guns kill people too.
They do.
No, people with guns kill people. Comer says he is not in favor of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell in a committee split. Kind of interesting. This story's getting brought back up again from Just the News. Remember, they're kind of the narrative setters right here. Comer told reporters on Wednesday he's not in favor of pardoning Maxwell in exchange for her testimony and cooperation with the committee. Members of the panel are split over the pardon. Maxwell's attorney said she would only answer questions if given clemency. Ranking member Robert Garcia, remember Democrat, said that his party is united in opposing the pardon, a giant step back for his Epstein survivors. I think that could be an expose right there, right? The Democrats are all like, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. The only thing that could actually get potentially some movement on this would be her testimony. Because I think the evidence has already been tampered with, right? I think the evidence sat SDNY for so long with Comey's daughter watching over it and everybody else watching over it. That evidence is either gone or tampered with. The physical evidence, not the emails and all that, but like the videos and all that stuff. That's been taken out. Maxwell's testimony is firsthand knowledge. If she is pardoned, or I don't think she'd be pardoned. I think she'd be given clemency, her sentence commuted. She would still be a felon. But if she's pardoned and she testifies, if she lies, she goes back to prison. If she's found to have lied on anything, she goes back to prison. The Democrats saying, no, we don't want her to testify, while at the same time screaming, release the Epstein files. We want to hold all these people accountable. To me, that's very telling, regardless of where you stand on commuting her sentence. What's your take?
100% agree with that. They and I've said this all the way back when people flipped out when Trump said that the investigation was a hoax, because it is. It's always been fraudulent, contaminated, and riddled with, implicating the innocent and protecting the guilty. And they know that. That's why they've always pushed for that. That's why they've always pushed for the Epstein files. Their greatest fear is a Maxwell talking or finding out that Epstein's in the 18 USC 3521 whip sec. They fear that.
Would you be in favor of commuting her sentence for her testimony?
The only way I would be in favor of commuting her sentence is if, and this would have to be stipulated in the contract, that her testimony leads to the convictions. Merely providing the information, no. But
that's the hard part, though, because you can't ensure that. You can't do that.
Exactly, and then that's the roulette game she's gonna have to play, considering the crimes that she did. She's not an innocent person. She's not a good person.
Agreed.
So yeah, you're gonna roll. Yeah, what if they don't get convicted? Well, then you don't get clemency.
So let's if can you stipulate? Can you ask her, like, if I'm trying to think of how they can, how do they get around that? Like, if you agree to testify and
you can say, if it doesn't lead to convictions, then there's an alternative reduced sentence. I'd be okay with something like that.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Okay. Yeah, so let's do that. But the fact that Garcia and the Democrat Party is united, he said they're united against that. Why would you want, like, you want justice for the victims, right? Ghislaine Maxwell, yes, did heinous stuff, throughout her time, but they trafficked these victims to other people. So the Democrats are like, we want accountability for all of them, but we don't want an actual way to do it. It's purely like, it's propaganda, right? It's kabuki theater. It's kayfabe. We're going to pretend it's manufactured outrage when you have a possibility of getting actual accountability for this. And you're like, no, I don't want that.
It's just like Melania calling out them fake ass victims.
Yeah, dude, that was shocking to me. Because was it you that told me to go look up that thing about the victims saying they don't want to come back and testify before Congress?
I might have. Because I put a post out. You guys, who wasn't shocked? This guy. Because I'd put out a post. I literally put out a post and said, hey, I'll say what everybody else is saying, won't say, that these are fake victims, and that these people, and I laid out their names and put it out there. And so when Melania came out and did that, and they had that response to it, there was some vindication there that felt good. Because I got hammered. Oh, you're attacking victims. No, I'm not. They're not victims. If you go and recruit people,
we did have.
You're not a victim anymore.
I remember having this discussion. You could still be a victim, but also an associate.
Well, you could be. I mean, technically, on an actual investigative report, you could be victim/suspect. Just like you can be, suspect/witness and things like that. But I'm just talking about as far as if you have someone who's a victim and a suspect, the suspect's always going to take precedent, because you don't get to just bypass the crimes you did. Now, the victim part can come into play on the judgment of your sentence, but being a victim doesn't relieve you of your responsibility for the crimes you committed. And that doesn't change in this situation.
I think it would factor in that they're underage when they were recruiting, and that they were.
Some of them weren't.
Some of them weren't. Correct. That's what I was going to preface or supplement that with. But a lot of them, some of them were underage, some of them weren't. Intimidation. Obviously Jeffrey Epstein was an intimidating figure. He knew everybody, and that's specifically the reason he had pictures of him with Clinton and all these other top officials at that time. That's all an intimidation tactic. Look who I know. I'm very powerful, right? And if you don't do this, I will make your life whatever. So I'm with you. I thought it was shocking. Well, not shocking, but I thought it was very revealing that they didn't want to testify when they had an opportunity to go into Congress under oath and tell their stories. And some of them, I'm sure some would do it, but as a collective, they decided not to. So
the one your boy Massey used as the poster child, she's one of the bad ones, really bad ones.
Gonna take shots at Massey after the propaganda.
Yeah, he's the one that propped her up, and she was an adult.
Speaking of fake, Trump, very good news. I've been informed that 8 women protesters who were going to be executed tonight in Iran will no longer be killed. 4 will be released immediately, and 4 sentenced to 1 month in prison I very much appreciate that Iran and its leaders respected my request as President of the United States and decided not to terminated the planned execution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Are you going with these or AI? Because I am.
Probably.
You believe this story?
I believe the story that they're going to be hung. Yeah.
You believe this story?
100%.
Wow. Wow.
Why wouldn't I? I've talked to someone who's talked to the families over there that know that people are going to be hung. I was told about this before I even hit the media.
I don't doubt people are going to be hung. I don't think any of those women right there are real.
Oh, they don't have to be. People use AI to promote the story all the time. We do it all the time when we create AI images to go along with our posts and stuff like that. It doesn't take away from the story not being real.
Oh, okay. I got what you're saying. All right. John Fallon is leaving the U.S. Navy. He has been fired by President Trump. This is very interesting. So Secretary of Navy John Fallon, this is from Sean Parnell, is departing the administration effective immediately on behalf of the Secretary of War and Deputy Secretary of War. We are grateful to Secretary Fallon for his service. Now, CNN put this article out this morning and kind of has a little section here that alluding to, sources familiar with the matter, right? But this is allegedly what happened. Multiple sources tell CNN there was tension for months between Fallon and Hegseth, who believed Fallon was moving too slowly on implementing shipbuilding reforms and was also irked by Fallon's direct communication with Trump, which Hegseth viewed as an attempt to bypass him. Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Feinberg also wanted to take control of major responsibilities for shipbuilding and Navy acquisitions, a job that would typically be within Fallon's purview. Trump, frustrated by slow shipbuilding progress himself, became convinced during the meeting that Fallon needed to be replaced, and he and his defense secretary resolved to install someone who would move more quickly, the official said. Trump told Hegseth he'll take care of it because Fallon is subordinate to the defense secretary. Hegseth sent a message to Fallon informing him he needed to resign or be fired. The official said Fallon, though, did not appear to believe Trump was aware of that message and soon began phoning other White House officials asking if they had heard that he'd been told to resign and whether he knew the president was aware of it. It was around that time when Parnell issued the statement. Fallon then asked to meet Trump and went to the West Wing lobby. The official said that Trump met with him briefly, confirming that Fallon was out of the job. Now, John Fallon was just at not Mar-a-Lago, but in Palm Beach. I don't know if he was at Mar-a-Lago, but he was just in Palm Beach for Don Jr.'s bridal shower, or his wedding shower. So I could see the story as being true. You and I both being Marines, you know that you don't fraternize with the people outside of your chain of command. And if you're the Navy secretary, your chain of command is the Secretary of War and then the president. And so you can go to the president from time to time. That's no problem. You can be friendly and all that stuff. But if Fallon was going directly to the president with issues regarding the Navy and not through Hegseth, major problem there.
I agree. The best part of that story is who they replaced him with.
Hung Cow. I'm not a fan of that replacement, to be honest with you.
I'm a huge fan of that replacement.
The only reason I'm not a fan of that is because Cow was a SEAL, and I don't think SEALs have the maritime captain, the actual Navy. That's a very segmented part of the Navy, and it's an upgrade. To me, it's an upgrade over Fallon. Fallon was a business guy. Fallon's job was to go in there and get the ships built and do the business side of the Navy, and apparently he wasn't doing well enough. So I'm all okay with that. But Hung Cow to me is a SEAL, and that's a very, specific section of the Navy. And we'll see how it plays out. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not.
One of the things he did in his career, right?
What's that?
He's I think one of the guys, or either the guy or one of the guys, because it might have been a team that recovered JFK Jr.'s body.
Oh, I did actually know that. Yeah.
That right there just made me say, huh.
Okay.
Air Force One's new color scheme, right?
Yep.
JFK Jr.'s plane, right?
Yep.
Put them side by side.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm there. I'm there.
Just saying.
But Secretary of Navy? I don't know. It's kind of strange, though. A SEAL, that's where I want a ship captain. Somebody that's, can we get Blackbeard? Let's put Blackbeard on the Secretary of Navy. I don't know. All right, this will be our last story of the day. We're running out of time here, but this is such a big story. I can't skip over this story. CBS News. Federal Appeals Court upholds Texas law requiring 10 commandments in the classroom. Let's go. This is a good story. Texas law requiring public schools display the 10 commandments in each classroom has been upheld by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The court found the law to be legally compliant with the First Amendment, meaning it does not improperly establish or endorse a religion, nor does it prevent individuals from practicing their faith. In the opinion, the court said, in part, quote, Senate Bill 10 does not tell churches or synagogues or mosques what to believe or how to worship or whom to employ as priests, rabbis, or imams. It punishes no one who rejects the 10 commandments, no matter the reason. It levies no taxes to support any clergy. It does not co-opt churches or perform civic functions. These are the kinds of things establishments of religion did at the founding that Senate Bill 10 does none of them. Quote, students are neither catechized. I've never said catechized. I've said catechism, but never catechized. Students are neither catechized on the commandments nor taught to adopt them, nor are teachers commanded to proselytize students who ask about the displays or contradict students who disagree with them. Most importantly, the quote-unquote coercion characteristic of religious establishments was government pressure to engage in religious worship. I love this. Now, can we put pictures of Jesus Christ up in the classrooms? If you're not worshiping it and you're not praying to it and you're not mentioning it, fine by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Put up the crucifix, baby.
Hell yeah, let's go. All right, so that is all we've got for today's show on time, and let's go ahead and jump into, I think we had a couple rants come through. Did I not pull? Yeah, I did pull them up. I definitely pulled them up. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Peyton Pooh. Okay, with all the work y'all do, I am encouraged. However, my estimation is we are still less than 97% fixed. Do the math. You'll get what I'm saying. Oh, thank you so much for the rant, though. I'm with you.
Peyton Pooh's a fed.
What's that?
I said Peyton Pooh's a fed.
Why?
Do the math. I'll tell you afterwards if you didn't get it. I get.
Oh, no, I got it. I got it.
Throwing some Fed shit out there.
Rebber Hart. Well, didn't you have that on your?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Rebber Hart 29. Gentlemen, your thoughts. July 26th, 24. DJT. Quote, you won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore. My beautiful Christians. Did he say my beautiful Christians or did he say my beautiful evangelicals? Didn't he say evangelical?
I feel like I remember evangelicals.
Yeah, I think it was he said evangelicals. Yeah, I don't know what that meant. I'm still kind of sitting on the fence on that one. I'm not going to say one way or the other with that. I just acknowledged that he did say that, and it was very interesting. So thank you, Rebber Hart.
Yeah. My thoughts on it is Trump says what he needs to say to get things to happen. If you want to know what's going to be permanent, then just look at his actions. His actions don't always line up with what he says. And I don't know why people forget to judge him that way.
Repo Man for Life 75. I have been a weed smoker for 30 years. Every day I've stopped cold turkey a handful of times for a month or 3. No issue. I quit smoking cigs in December, and I still have moments when I want one. Yep.
Just because you didn't have no issues doesn't mean you're not addicted. If you can't stop doing something, you are addicted.
No. You have to have you have to have a compulsion to do it. I have zero compulsion to do it.
Okay, so never do it again.
So you'll see in the back of why would I not want to do it again?
Because you have a compulsion to do it.
I don't have a compulsion.
And don't do it no more.
It's beneficial to me. It's beneficial to my health. It's beneficial to my mental health, my physical health. I'm not doing it. I'm doing this right now to see if there's any variation. I'm making a control study.
I've talked to a lot of people that drink that say, if I stop drinking, I can't work as good as I do.
Drinking is toxic to the body. Cannabis is not.
Okay.
It's not an okay. Like when I finish this show, I am going to go about doing my work, but I'm going to probably throw a dip in. That's just what we do. That is an addiction.
Kayla's mom, stop having sex in Alpha. No, I'm addicted.
Also, I use fake dip.
Why would I want to? Come on, people.
Exactly. You're addicted.
That's what I'm saying. So why are you guys afraid to say that you're addicted to weed? Just say you're addicted to
not
weed.
Addicted to it. There's health.
You are. If you can't stop, you're addicted.
No.
Y'all can't stop watching daily because you're addicted.
Why would you do that? Why? Okay, we're getting him out of the show, telling us not to watch the show. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in to Sit Rep tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Alpha and I will be talking more shit, probably faking. Yes, I do use fake dip. I use Black Buffalo. I'm not gonna promote it because they're not a sponsor, but it's like corn. It has nicotine, but it takes some getting used to. But once you do, I guess it's better for you than actual tobacco. I don't know.
You do the can of Copenhagen next to me, and I'm done, bro. That's why. I realize how much I love that stuff. That's
exactly it. I'm addicted. I could have a joint right in front of me right now, and I won't want to smoke it. Like I'm not going to be like I gotta smoke it, man.
Because mentally, in so many days you're going to do it.
No,
but if you told yourself I'm never doing this again, it would be a much harder thing to do. However, I like the route you're going. Give yourself a 30-day window so you can accomplish that, and then that 30-day window we'll readdress it and change it to a 60-day window. And then we'll go. I'm gonna walk through this with you, bro. I'm gonna walk through this journey together.
Robin Sue is exactly right. She says exactly, Brian. Sorry, Alpha, but addiction is the body needing the fix. I enjoy the relaxation weed provides, especially when I need to sleep, but can't shut down the mind. It's not, your body doesn't need it. Your body doesn't yearn.
Your mind can be just as addicted to something as your body is.
No, my mind is not addicted to it either. Nor is my body. No, there's no addiction. All right, we got to end the show. We're out of here. Alpha's retarded. Love him still, though. Love him still, though. All right, softdisclosure.com, promo code Badlands.
They say confidence starts with a smooth skin. And baby, Soft Disclosure Lotion delivers.
I swear by this stuff. Like, I kid you guys not. This is the first lotion I've ever had in my entire life that, like, I don't get ashy after I put it on any part of my body. Like, my hands are always dry, and my hands have not gotten ashy without, like, rinsing them through water and washing them with soap since I started putting Soft Disclosure on. Like, it is black man approved. I kid you not.
Black man approved. You heard him. And let's be real. If it can handle his hands, it can handle anything.
Feet are like, they get so dry, like the heels of them, it'll just kind of like flake off. Like, but with Soft Disclosure, once you put it on, like it starts to absorb it.
Yeah, he went there. Don't worry, we won't show you his feet, but trust us, they're smoother too. Soft Disclosure Lotion is made with aloe, goat's milk, honey, and our exclusive oil blend that actually restores your skin barrier. Visit softdisclosure.com, use code BADLANDS, and get 15% off.